Kevin got the raise on a Thursday, and by the next Thursday there was a new SUV in the driveway wearing dealer plates. Then the bigger apartment with the kitchen island nobody actually cooks on, and a watch heavy enough that he keeps checking his wrist. And here's the part that should bother you more than it does. 6 months later, Kevin is staring at the same depressing checking account balance he had before the raise, just as broke, except now the anxiety has nicer wallpaper. Nothing changed but the price tags. Here's the thing. Nobody tells you about getting money. The upgrades you can see are almost always the ones that keep you broke, and the ones that quietly change your life are the ones nobody will ever notice. My name is Nick, and I spend way too much time thinking about why people like Kevin get money and land right back where they started. If you've ever gotten a raise and felt poor a year later, stick around and hit subscribe, because today we're upgrading the right 10 things. Now, before we get into the list, let me be straight with you about something, because it's the whole idea this video is built on. I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice. This is just what I've watched happen over and over to people who get money and to people who keep it. And the single biggest difference between those two groups comes down to one weird rule. The more an upgrade can be seen by other people, the worse it usually is for you. The less it can be seen, the better it usually is. Your brain is wired against you here because you adapt to anything visible almost instantly. The new car smells incredible for about 3 weeks, and then it's just the car. The bigger apartment feels enormous until the day it just feels normal, which arrives faster than you'd think. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, which is a fancy way of saying you get used to good things shockingly fast. But you never adapt to a body that stops hurting. You never get used to not lying awake at 2 in the morning doing math. So the entire move is to spend where you can't adapt and other people can't see. And keep one thing in the back of your mind as we go, because I promise I'll come back to it. Out of everything Kevin could have done with that raise, the upgrade that would have saved him the most money is the one that never would have cost him a single dollar. Hold on to that. Let's start. Upgrade number 1 is your sleep, and I mean the actual surface you sleep on. Nobody is ever going to come over and admire your mattress, and it is the single most invisible big purchase you will ever make, which is exactly why it's first. Here's the math that should reframe how you think about it. A genuinely good mattress, say around $1,000, lasts about 10 years. Run the numbers, and that's roughly 27 cents per night for a third of your entire life. The cheap one you replace every 4 years because your back hates it, that costs you the same money over time and delivers worse sleep every single night in between. That's not thrift. That's paying full price for the worse option. And sleep isn't some soft, fluffy wellness thing. Rand ran the numbers and found that people sleeping under 6 hours a night carry a 13% higher risk of dying early, and that poor sleep drains hundreds of billions of dollars a year out of the economy in lost productivity. Your sleep is infrastructure. It's the thing every other upgrade on this list quietly depends on. Fix it first. Which brings me to upgrade number 2, and this one might be the laziest free money on the entire list. Your bank account's interest rate right now, the average big bank savings account pays you something insulting, like a third of 1%. Meanwhile, a high-yield savings account, the boring online kind, is paying somewhere in the neighborhood of 4% as of right now. So picture $20,000 just sitting there. In the big bank, that earns you about $76 a year. In the high-yield account, that same exact money earns you over $800 a year. Same money, same access, same federal insurance. The only difference is a 10-minute transfer you keep meaning to do. That's a difference of more than $700 a year for, and I cannot stress this enough, doing basically nothing. Leaving your cash in a near zero account isn't safe. It's just a slow, polite way of paying the bank for the privilege of holding your money. Now, upgrade number 3 is where I need you to actually feel something, because most people are quite literally turning down free money and don't realize it. If your job offers a 401k match, that match is the highest guaranteed return you will ever find anywhere on planet Earth, and about 1 in 4 workers don't grab the full thing. The typical person who misses it leaves around $1,300 a year on the table. Doesn't sound life-changing, right? Except over 20 years with growth, that's nearly $43,000 you simply handed back. Think about what your employer match actually is. If they match dollar for dollar, you put in $1, you instantly have two. That's a 100% return before the market has done anything at all. There is no investment, no stock tip, no crypto coin, nothing. That reliably doubles your money the second you touch it, except this. And people skip it because the paperwork is mildly annoying. Fix the paperwork, a mattress, a savings account, a retirement form, stack them up, and you'll notice not one of them is something another person will ever see and be impressed by. So let's talk about the upgrade people actually rush to make instead, the one this entire video is quietly arguing against. The car. This was Kevin's first move, remember? Dealer plates and all. And the average new car payment in this country recently hit around $770 a month. $770. That's not a luxury car. That's the average. Almost 1 in 5 new car loans now come with payments over $1,000 a month, and most of those aren't even fancy. They're regular trucks and SUVs. A new car loses about 20% of its value the second you drive it off the lot, and roughly 60% over 5 years. So here's what financing that shiny upgrade actually is. You're borrowing money at interest to buy something that's busy turning into less money while you're still sitting in the dealership signing the paperwork. It is the single most visible upgrade you can make, and one of the worst things you can do with a raise. So instead of the car, let's spend money on something nobody can see but everybody secretly wants. Upgrade number 4 is your time. There's actual research on this. A study across thousands of people found that spending money to save time, paying someone to clean, getting groceries delivered, outsourcing the chores you hate, made people measurably happier than spending the same money on physical stuff. And it worked across income levels, not just for the rich. Here's how you know if it's smart or just lazy. Take your take-home pay, divide it by the hours you work, and you get what an hour of your time is roughly worth. If a task costs less than that to outsource, and you actually use the freed up time to rest, earn, or be with people you love, you came out ahead. Outsource your cleaning and then spend the saved 2 hours doom scrolling, and that's the lazy version, and you knew that already. Here's the version that lands. Say you make around $50 an hour after taxes, and every weekend you burn 5 hours on cleaning, laundry, and errands you genuinely hate. Paying someone $120 to hand you 3 of those hours back isn't an indulgence, it's a bargain. You bought a chunk of your weekend for less than it was worth to you, and nobody had to see you do it. Time is the one thing you genuinely cannot buy more of. So buy it back where you can. Upgrade number 5 is the most overlooked thing on this entire list, and almost nobody buys it until it's too late. Disability insurance. Here's a statistic that should stop you cold. More than 1 in 4 of today's 20-year-olds will become disabled at some point before they retire. 1 in 4, and yet more than half of working households have 0 disability coverage. Think about what your real biggest asset is. It's not your house, it's not your 401k, it's your ability to get up and earn money for the next 30 years. That's worth millions over a lifetime, and most people leave it completely uninsured. Think about how backwards that is. You'll happily insure the phone in your pocket, but not the hands that pay for the phone. Long-term disability coverage usually runs somewhere around 1 to 3% of your salary. So you're protecting your single largest financial asset for the price of basically a streaming service-sized line item. While we're here, the same logic applies to term life insurance if anyone depends on your income. A healthy 30-year-old can often get a $500,000 term policy for around $25 a month. Skip the expensive whole life stuff people try to sell you. Buy the cheap, boring, invisible protection. That's the upgrade. Now let's circle back to your body, because upgrade number 6 is the infrastructure most people only fix after it breaks. If you work at a desk, your chair and your setup are not a luxury, they're load-bearing. Workplace musculoskeletal problems, the back, neck, and shoulder stuff cost an estimated $50 billion a year, and surveys found that around half of people working from home developed some kind of pain from a bad setup. A $400 chair spread over 10 years is $40 a year. Put another way, a good chair costs less than 3 physical therapy appointments, and it never once asks how your weekend was. Compare that to years of a back that hates you and the doctor's visits that follow. And this extends to the rest of your body's maintenance, the stuff you skip because nothing's on fire yet. The eye exam, the dentist, the annual checkup. Every one of those is cheap, invisible, and exists to stop a small problem from compounding into an expensive, painful one. You maintain your car so the engine doesn't blow up. You are allowed to do the same for the body you're stuck driving around for the rest of your life. Upgrade number 7 is my personal favorite because it's a tax loophole hiding in plain sight that most people walk right past. If you've got the right kind of health plan, a high deductible one, you get access to an HSA, a health savings account. And the HSA is the only account in America with 3 separate tax breaks stacked on top of each other. The money goes in tax-free. It grows tax-free. And when you spend it on medical stuff, it comes out tax-free. Nothing else does all 3. Here's the move almost nobody knows about. You don't have to spend it now. You can pay your medical bills out of pocket today, save the receipts in a shoebox, let the HSA money sit invested and growing for decades, and then reimburse yourself years later. Completely tax-free with no deadline. It quietly becomes one of the best retirement accounts in existence, disguised as a thing for doctors' copays. It's a retirement account wearing a lab coat, and since a retired couple may need well over $300,000 just for healthcare, an account built specifically to cover that tax-free is not a small thing. It's just an invisible one. There's a name for the trap Kevin walked into, and it's worth knowing. Buy the fancy couch, and suddenly the rug looks shabby, so you replace the rug, and now the curtains look wrong, and the cascade never ends. Psychologists call it the Diderot effect, and it's the engine that turns one visible upgrade into 10. That's the hidden cost of the stuff that's built to be seen. It doesn't just cost what it costs, it drags everything around it upward with it. The invisible upgrades do the opposite. They sit there quietly compounding in your favor while you forget they're even running, which brings us perfectly to upgrade number 8, and it's a number you can actually move, your credit score. People treat their credit score like a vibe, some abstract grade. It is not. It's a price tag, and it's enormous. On a typical $300,000 mortgage, the gap between a mediocre score and an excellent one is around $150 a month. Over the life of the loan, that's roughly $56,000 in extra interest just for having a worse number. On a bigger house, that gap stretches well past $100,000. And the wild part is your score is one of the most controllable numbers in your whole financial life. It's a 3-digit number that judges you harder than your in-laws, and unlike your in-laws, you can actually win it over. Pay on time, keep your balances low, don't close your oldest card, and let time do the rest. And remember that thing I told you to hold on to at the start, the upgrade that would have saved Kevin the most money without costing him a single dollar? This is it. Nobody will ever see your credit score and be impressed at a dinner party. It just quietly saves you the price of a luxury car over 30 years, which fittingly is the exact thing Kevin bought instead. And honestly, that's the through line of this whole thing. So let me just say it plainly for a second. If you're sitting there feeling like you finally got a little money and you're not sure what to do with it, and every instinct is screaming at you to buy something you can show people, that instinct isn't a character flaw, it's marketing working exactly as designed. The entire economy is built to make you upgrade the visible stuff, because the visible stuff is where the profit is. Nobody's running ads telling you to max your HSA. There's no commercial making disability insurance look cool. The most profitable thing you can be is somebody who upgrades their image instead of their foundation. You're allowed to opt out of that game entirely. Oh, and one quick aside, because it fits the theme exactly. Everything on this list is about upgrading what you do with the money you have. But there's one upgrade that beats all of them, and that's widening the gap between what you earn and what you spend from the income side. That's the quietest, most invisible compounding machine of all. So I put together a school community where I walk through how I've actually built and scaled faceless YouTube channels from scratch, step by step, as a real second income that runs in the background. If that's the kind of upgrade you're after, the link's in the description. No pressure. It's just there if you want it. Okay, upgrade number 9 is the one your grandparents understood and the rest of us forgot. The stuff you actually touch every single day. There's an old idea called the boots theory, and it goes like this. A poor man buys $10 boots that fall apart every season, so over 10 years, he spends $100 and always has wet feet. A man who can afford $50 boots buys them once and stays dry for a decade. Being broke is literally more expensive. So the things you use constantly, your shoes, your knife in the kitchen, your everyday bag, the mattress we already covered, those are worth upgrading to the buy it once tier. But, and this is the part the buy quality crowd never tells you, it does not apply to everything. Fast moving tech that's obsolete in 3 years, don't buy it for life that. Trendy stuff you'll be embarrassed by in 18 months. No. Gear for a hobby you started last Tuesday? Absolutely not. The real test isn't the price tag. It's cost per use times the odds you'll still want it later. Buy forever only when you'll actually use it forever. And that leaves upgrade number 10, which is the one that quietly runs all the others. Upgrade your defaults. Almost everything we've talked about today fails for the same reason, not because people don't know better, but because doing the right thing requires remembering to do it every month, and willpower is a terrible long-term plan. So you take yourself out of the equation, automate the transfer to the high yield account on payday before you ever see the money, and the very first thing that automated money should build is the most invisible safety net there is, an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses parked somewhere you can actually reach. Not because it earns much. Earning isn't its job, but because it's the thing that turns a blown transmission or a surprise medical bill from a genuine catastrophe into a mildly irritating Tuesday. Most people in this country can't cover a $400 surprise without reaching for a credit card. The fund is what quietly makes you the person who can. After that, auto-escalate your 401k so it climbs a percent every year without you noticing. Put your bills on autopay so a forgotten due date never wrecks that credit score we just talked about. And once a year, do the unglamorous audit. Find the subscriptions you forgot you had, the gym you haven't seen since the new year, the streaming service you signed up for to watch one show. Recurring costs compound exactly like investments, just pointed in the wrong direction. The goal is a financial life that does the smart thing automatically, even on the days you're tired, lazy, or just not thinking about it, especially those days. So that's the 10. And if you go back through them, here's what I hope you notice. Almost none of them are things, that they're a mattress, an interest rate, your time, your coverage, your body, a couple of tax accounts, a number, the few objects you actually touch, and a set of systems that run while you sleep. Not one of them is designed to be seen. The more an upgrade is meant to impress other people, the less it tends to do for you. The more invisible it is, the more it quietly changes everything. Think back to Kevin for a second. Same raise, same Thursday. But imagine he'd spent that year on this list instead. The boring, invisible version. No new SUV, just the old car running fine, the mattress, the high yield account, the full match, the credit score climbing in the background. By the end of that same year, nobody who passed him on the street would notice a single difference. His driveway would look identical, and he'd be tens of thousands of dollars and a few years of his life ahead of the version of himself who bought the watch. That's the whole trick, and it's almost insultingly quiet. Real wealth was never the stuff you can point to. It's the 2 a.m. you sleep through, the emergency that doesn't scare you, the back that doesn't hurt, and the slow invisible machine compounding in the background while everyone else is busy financing things they hope you'll notice. Pick one of these and upgrade it this week.